How rich has Xi Jinping got as president of China? Today's video discusses one of the world's strongest and most powerful heads of the government, only second to the president of the USA, the ruling president of China, Mr. Xi Jinping. He has held the position of head of government in the country since 2013. Xi Jinping took over in a time of instability in terms of international relations. Since the Korean War of 1950 and the Vietnam War, ties between the superpowers of China and the US have been rather complex, with periods of instability followed by periods of perfect understanding. It is in this environment that Xi Jinping grew up and became president. Over the years, Xi Jinping has amassed so much wealth, holding more than the annual salary of most other politicians around the world in pure net profit. Due to his hard work and, more importantly, his smart work, despite the hindrances on his way, Xi Jinping has stood as one of the most prominent politicians of the country for over 10 years now. Let us now dive into President Xi Jinping's wealthy lifestyle and the sacrifices behind his significant successes, his windfalls and his net worth that is kept hidden from the world. So sit back and brace yourselves for a detailed look at the mastermind behind China's power. Xi Jinping was born in the capital city of China, Beijing. He was the sixth child to Xi Jinping, father, and Xi Xin, mother. During his youth, he had to face a few challenges that went on to dictate his future tremendously. For instance, Xi Jinping had to stop schooling due to the Cultural Revolution amidst his father's very uncertain job role. Life turned out to be difficult for Xi Jinping at one point. While his father worked as the chairman in the Chinese Communist Party, he learned the governmental system as early as possible. When Xi Jinping turned 10, his father was removed from his job and certain constitutional reforms implemented several rules against the party members. This is where things took a turn in Xi Jinping's and Jinping's lives. In 1966, while Xi Jinping was attending high school, the Cultural Revolution brought his school life to a halt. 2 years later, his father was sentenced to prison after being purged several times from his role. Though articles and facts do not prove why he was purged, most assume that this could be a result of the conspiracies among other politicians at that time. After several difficult chapters, in 1974 he was able to attend college to study chemical engineering. This was a defining moment in Xi Jinping's life, both as a person and as a professional, as he was able to regain his access to education despite the difficulties he faced. He then joined the Communist Party and from there on started building his way up, with a doctorate in law and ideology from the same institution where he got his bachelor's degree from. Once he graduated from the university in 1979, he started trying doors and ended up being a secretary in his father's college till late 1982. Year after year, Xi Jinping held many positions, the significant of them being the county deputy party secretary, vice secretary, and the secretary in multiple locations. After years of determination and hard work, he rose to the top of Zhejiang's political hierarchy in late 2002. As it might have been obvious, finances and wealth didn't dominate through most of Xi Jinping's life. At least not until he came into a significant position of power. In 2010, Xi Jinping made a move that was questioned by many. He became the chairman of the Central Military. But why did he serve as a chief of the Central Military rather than working himself up into power? Well, the answer comes from Xi Jinping himself. He made it a point to make it clear that no matter what, the central body that dictates the security of the country is the military. He was adamant at making people realize that the sacrifices made by the military should not go unnoticed, especially considering the fact that China was thought of as a developing nation according to multiple organizations. Without a strong military force, peace and development within a country cannot be guaranteed. This serves to prove that during his latter period, he also stood up with his country. This shows how much dedication and courage he had towards his country and fellow men, which eventually proved to be a plus point in his success as a politician. From a financial perspective, Xi Jinping's net worth and financial habits were beginning to be discussed publicly as he began the recoil to catapult towards his position as the president of China. During a conference meeting in the late 90s, it was reported that Xi Jinping's salary was around $22,000 to $30,000. You might be wondering how his salary could be within that range, while the other politician's salary is multiple folds of that of his. But before you arrive at conclusions by what was visible, hear me out. His monthly salary or income that was revealed to the public might just have been the tip of the iceberg. Now you might be curious about his average monthly earnings, aren't you? If that's why you're here, I have both good news and bad news. The bad news first. Xi Jinping's net worth and total annual income is often kept very secretive, as there are many other aspects of China. However, the good news is that most of his investing patterns and financial moves can be guessed or assessed. It is believed that Xi Jinping's main investment portfolio was contracts with foreign policy ever since he became the president. He started making pure profits only from contracts and undertook the greater risk of his life and invested all the money that came from contracts, and especially the president's wealth, and invested in other pools of investments. However, within just more than a year, most of his wealth and investments had depreciated. Now that doesn't sound too good. How would that be possible? Well, the reason seems to be the quote-unquote increase in taxes. I believe we all can relate to that. Taxes are annoying, but that's how governments and markets run. However, after multiple obstacles and attempts in investments, the president of China faced a windfall increase in his wealth. His net worth shot up, even though it wasn't made public to the dollar how much the increase was. Sources on the internet had wild estimations of his net worth ranging from $22 million to as much as $10 billion. But wait a second, just like his estimated net worth, most of the sources online also predicted his annual salary. However, considering the limited annual salary of presidents around the world and considering the reports online, it still isn't possible to decipher how Xi Jinping could have an alleged net worth equal to that of the estimations in those reports. When we go deep into the masterminds behind these activities, we cannot get a clear understanding from where he makes all this money. But sources say that most of Xi Jinping's income are from deals, import and export, and real estate. It is estimated that Xi Jinping's properties are worth well over $100 million in straight cash. During his tenure, Xi Jinping has proved his enigma and willfulness through multiple campaigns, including those focused on education, anti-corruption, and more. Despite being criticized by many, Xi Jinping has been quite adamant with his policies. Being the second most powerful president in the entire world, his vision for China is both ambitious and admirable, as is his vision in his financial life. According to Xi Jinping's own words, by 2049, for the centenary of the People's Republic of China, his goal is to make China the world's leading power, and not just economically. But what does that mean in concrete terms? Fears are that China might end up conquering Taiwan and other islands as its main legacy. And that would not mean worldwide development, but possibly a worldwide catastrophe, and in the worst case, a world war. Although Xi Jinping is known for his outstanding presidency, he is also known for his huge annual income and overall net worth. He would not be able to climb the ladder of fame in China and wouldn't have become this popular, making China represent modern technology and equality of freedom, if he would have given up his life easily. Having gone through multiple estimates and assumptions about his net worth and overall wealth, we can come to an informed conclusion that Xi Jinping's wealth can only be estimated at best. However, the secrets behind his windfall inflow of cash during his presidency are yet to be discovered.